Very good morning, happy Friday. We had the Powell speech yesterday, so that caused things to go a little bit risk off, which it's fine because we were a little bit stagnant on the sentiment. We were just so sideways all week on the S&P and the Dow Jones. It just wouldn't move. So Powell's speech shook things up, which is good because we didn't want it to like stagnate. The sentiment, when it doesn't move, there's no opportunities. Okay, so we went from bullish extreme to extremely bullish to fairly bullish, and so we kind of don't want, if you're bullish on the indices, you don't really want to see this increase too much, because if it does get larger, it tells us that the herd are going long. If they're going to add long, it's going to make that go to negative, to positive, and then we'll go net positive, and then will tell us that they're net long. So we don't really want to have this number get larger, because it's going to impact this. Okay, technicals really dumped, by the way. We were about 70 on the scores and we're 28. So yeah, we were basically come off the extreme. So whenever it says bullish extreme or bearish extreme, it just tells us that there's probably going to be a squeeze, and because obviously the market can't stagnate, it has to fluctuate. Okay, and the sentiment was so sideways. If you've been watching the videos all week, VIX has pumped and the Treasury yield had pumped, so that's risk off. FTSE and the CAC 40, they're positive, but don't forget this isn't the futures data. This is just like the real data. It's not the futures, and so because it tells us that they were green, but the US went negative, it tells us that we had a heavy New York session yesterday. Because we closed positive, and of course we had the Powell speech, and things started to unravel a little bit. The Russell 2000's fallen quite heavily again. It's a big move, second day in a row. Dollar also rose. QDB scores, and let's have a look. This is how we were, okay, and this is how we are. So let's refresh that. The strongest is CAD Yen, Dollar Yen, Pound Yen, Euro Pound. Pound Aussie, so that's strange. That's a strange one to be out there. We've got lots of weakness in the Australian dollar, okay, and the Euro USD is also weak as well. So we can have a look at the Aussie bubble to see if that makes any sense. Might have to go to, yeah, there's an Aussie bubble. So they were long at the start of the week, and they've added long on the Australian dollar. Okay, so that's why we might see a bit of weakness on the Aussie. So that's just a little bit of information there. Robot, we did really well yesterday. We had the New Zealand dollar USD trades running, and all three of them went to profit. So I'm really happy about that. It was really good timing actually, and our trading stock kicked in and we got out at nice profits. We have to remember we're still testing and we're only using tiny sizes, so you'll probably see a small increment each day. It's not going to like dramatically increase, because what's happened is that we're only trading the USD now. We were trading all minor pairs and major pairs before, and we were also trading yen pairs as well, but we're not doing that. We're only trading the USD. Because of that, we have less signals, but they will be a little bit more reliable and less chaotic as well. When we have something like the Euro Kiwi, or perhaps the Pound Aussie, they can just really whipsaw, and they can do quite a bit of damage, or they can make lots of profit, but they're very volatile. So the way that we're looking at the robot is that we're doing a very systematic, low risk approach. Okay, and we're just doing the dollars, the USD, and we're doing it per hour. Now next week we could have the robot trigger upon sell change, which will mean that we get the signal much earlier, but we'll get more. So that's something we can look at next week. I'm quite happy how it's doing now per hour, because it's not triggering that many trades, but we would probably want to get a little bit more profit from the robot. So I think next week we'll do that. We'll do the sell change, and it will ping as soon as the bubbles deviate sufficiently enough. We'll get the signal. We won't have to wait for the hour for it to materialize. So we've had a good week from the 2.3. So remember, 2.3 logic is exactly the same as the reversal. You know, we're waiting for them to get stopped out and take profit, but we're using really strict risk management, and that's the 2.3. And the 2.3 will include testing of that risk management, so we can look to increase the TP or decrease ESL, or we'll just have a look at tweaking those settings. Then I think 2.3 could be it, and then we can maybe look to go live. So we'll just keep testing 2.3 logic, which is the risk management part, and then we'll probably be in a position to go live probably by 2024. And it's quite good because you'll be able to use a small account on it as well, because it's not triggering that many trades. So when we go testing the sell change next week, we'll get an idea about how many signals we'll get when we go live, because I don't think we're going to make any changes to the code now. It's just the risk management part. Okay, so it'll be quite exciting when we go live actually. Gold is in a bit of trouble because we had an SLC here, and we've got descending MA as well on the H4, and it hit it right on the nose. We've also got a punishment box as well. Yeah, we've got one here from the crossover, so that's going to be like there's going to be a lot of volume here, which could act as resistance. We certainly saw it come into play, and it hit the SLC and the moving average. So we had three things going against gold yesterday, and of course we had the power speech as well. They might sell it, it's hard to say. If they do, then we could look for maybe longs, because we are a buy at the big picture, but we want them to be selling. Okay, so it could be potentially a good buy. Maybe you'd want to wait for that to break. Perhaps you might want that to break first, because you're going to be buying into that box, aren't you? And you'll be buying into that descending moving average as well, which is a bit risky. You might want to be buying into it to sell. You're not looking for it to break, you're looking for it to get a good entry to sell, maybe. So I'll show you what I mean about the sentiment. On the S&P, we were really sideways, and we stopped going sideways there. So we had fallen, and they are going slightly long. You can see 1 pixel change there. So we probably shouldn't be above this candle here to a rectangle. So we shouldn't really be above. If anything, we'll probably see a retest. I don't think we'll break it because they've gone long. So it just tells us that they all get paid, and that'd be unusual. So there's the box of resistance, the punishment zone. Here's 30. So they started to sell it, but they're now going sideways. So I'm probably going to go back to being sideways again, which would be really frustrating. We can see how obviously we've got a little bit of resistance here because they've gone long, and we had that big decline. Those 3 hourly declines are quite heavy, just from that tiny little nudge on that sentiment there. So if they do go long, we could probably fall quite heavily like we did on those 3 candles. Currently sideways, so you've got to be careful. DAX, and there's some support here. Okay, it was resistance, and that could be a support. They have sold it, so we mark that box, and then I'll wrap up the video, and then we can get on with the robot testing, and looking forward to the weekend as well. And so there we go. See how that kind of works there. More or less, yeah, more or less they'd sold it here, and then we could potentially bounce higher. So that's the indices. You see how it works. When the retail guys go one way, they will create a supply or demand, but they do it unconsciously. They don't realize what they're doing. That's the thing, that they create these punishment boxes unwittingly. They don't realize that when they go en masse and they do one thing, then there's going to be someone to take the other side of that huge trade. Okay, and there has to be a large entity with sufficient pockets to counter that trade, and this is why these are good supports or resistances. Okay, see, we had a retest there, you see. Up we come. And that's today's video. So like I say, more testing on the robot. I'm around if you need me, but I'm going to be looking on the robot really now and getting that to a polished product, and then we can look to go live maybe even December. We'll have to wait and see. So remember to trade safely, and I'll speak to you guys soon.